Why do you go on Barstool Sports Chicago if you don't follow sports? What's interesting to you about that space?
Barstool is a cultural phenomenon to me. Barstool, my first exposure to Barstool was the Barstool Smoke Show, and I told him that whenever I was in college. I'm not ashamed. I'm not proud of it, but I guess I'm not really ashamed of it either.
Let's not. Okay, you know what? That's like a laugh line, but that's a legit thing. The smoke show was attractive women. Yes, that they were
women on your campus. They were like, so and so's the Barstool Smoke Show at GW, and we're like, oh shit, I saw her at a party once, and everyone was like, oh my god,
yeah. Well, that is this thing. To bring it back to what we were talking about with the political gender gap, where that is not theoretically political.
No.
At all. Nobody's talking politics. You would never envision an institution that was majority liberal Democratic voters hosting a thing like that or doing that. That would be icky. That would be icky to them. And that, I think, is the explanation and why nobody can just pull out a handbrake and reverse it. That's just that right
Bingo.
there.
I mean, you asked me about the gender gap. That there's a reason. Is that I think in 2011 you could be into the Barstool Smoke Show and be like an Obama voter. And I think these days, if you're engaging with the Barstool Smoke Show, you're either not voting or you're like more inclined to Trump than you necessarily want to think. And you would never tell your liberal friends about it either. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it is look, Barstool as a company, as a cultural phenomenon, as this entire like idea of the lean in kind of thing this thesis that I have around lean in feminism. I think Barstool is actually a very important part of that. I think Dave himself is one of the most important political figures in America. And it's funny because I know that he hates that I say this.
Let's drill down on that. Dave Portnoy.
Yes.
And I don't think you're wrong, but I need this unspooled. Barstool Presidente, one of the most important political figures in America.
Yes.
Explain that.
Because I think that Dave, I mean, look, it's not an original thesis, and a lot of people hate this idea, but Matthew Walther wrote what I believe is the most politically insightful column of the decade called Rise of the Barstool Conservatives. And it was in 2021, I believe, that he wrote it. And what he said is that increasingly right-wing politics in America will embody a socially libertarian valence towards free speech. It will not prioritize religion. It will be explicitly secular, which means it will be pro-choice. And on economics, it will kind of embody an entrepreneurial, like libertarian-esque, like let me just do business, like get away from me, man, ideology. This is, they called this in the 90s, I believe they called it South Park conservatism, but that was too early because that's when America genuinely was like very religious. But the reason I think Dave is like a prototypical new generation of a political figure that hasn't existed in quite a long time is this is a guy who explicitly was pro-Trump in 2015. He's clearly a Republican, but he's also come out and said, I won't vote Republican because of Roe versus Wade. He is himself
in 2022. In
2022, he's like, I literally will not vote Republican. He runs this company, which is obviously counter to the modern left, which at the same time embodies a lot of traditional, like quote unquote, left wing ideals, and yet is embraced in a right wing fuck you valence. And I was like, there's nothing more conservative to me in 2024 than that. Like that's Barstool. And so that gets with gambling and male culture. It gets with male alienation. Like it has it all. And that's why I think like Dave himself is that lightning rod. And like I said, by the way, I'm sure he hates this because I've talked about this on Rogan and elsewhere because he doesn't want to be political. But that's actually part of why it's even more important and why the non-political is the political in 2024. And that's why he is so important.
Yeah, that's it's the problem and the annoyance is that we have these neutral spaces and we like that they're unsullied by politics and there are these cultural DMZ zones, but that makes them especially enticing high ground for the competing ideologies to seize because that is what's normal. If the neutral is reflecting your values, then you have truly won. And that's why there's such a vigorous fight for it. But I think that there's something to what you're saying. And I think it was a harbinger of perhaps not doom, but a dampener when Portnoy in 2022 as somebody who supported Trump earlier was saying of the Dobbs decision, this is a disaster. Why are they doing this? Yeah. And that's also what makes him interesting to me.
Yes.
I don't,
yes.
That's not me saying that I think this is a great guy and I support everything the guy says, but no, you said that. No, I don't. No, but it gets conflated. Just recognizing the value of somebody can get conflated. What I'm trying to articulate is that if he was strictly partisan, he would be boring to me. That's what I'm trying to articulate. If he supported Trump and then he supported everything on the Republican platform, as some people do, then that's one way to see the world, but that's boring.
He also attacked J.D. Vance. I don't know if you remember that. So remember, there was that clip going around.
He sounds like a communist.
Yeah. He sounds like a Democrat. And you're like, But here we have the physical manifestation of the Walther column. J.D. is of a new right. He's like pro-family, not necessarily pro-business. But Dave is literally childless. And he's just pro-business. He's like a much more libertarian entrepreneur. And so that is the clash exactly of the ideology. And that's exactly how Matthew Walther predicted that it would happen. He was so correct. And also, that's why crypto is right wing. That's why Trump is pro crypto now. That's why crypto and like the idea of like the wild swings, and becoming deeply masculine, all those things become intertwined. And that's what leads to Trump flip-flopping on the issue. Like it's all there, Dave and Davey day trading and all that day trading. Like there ain't a lot of young women who are day trading. Because they're smart. They're smart. Some gender gaps you don't want to close. You don't want to close that.
No.
Ladies, don't trade put options. It's not good for you.
You don't need to catch up to men in marijuana usage, and you don't need to catch up to men in the gambling